You've asked a question, or perhaps it's a feeling you live with every day. Why is my attention so difficult to maintain? It feels as though only a tiny fragment of my being is truly, seriously interested, while the rest is pulled away by 1,000 different threads. So we ask, what can I do to nourish this attention? It's a profound question, and the very words we use, like nourish, show our desire to cultivate this state, to make it grow, to stabilize it in a world that seems dedicated to its destruction. But before we can speak of nourishing attention, I wonder if we can go into this together very deeply to understand what we are even talking about. We use these words awareness, concentration, and attention often interchangeably, yet they may represent entirely different movements of the mind. Let's begin with the simplest, most immediate one, awareness. What does it mean to be aware? As I sit here and you're listening, I am aware of this lovely morning, the feeling of the air, the incredible play of light and shadow from these beautiful trees. I am aware of that woodpecker, that persistent rhythmic tapping. You are aware of the screen in front of you, the temperature of the room, the sounds from outside your window. This is the first layer. But how do you look at this world? When you look at those mountains, or the tree outside, or the face of a person, what is the quality of that observation? Do you observe it with choice, which is with the background of your memory and your preference? Or can you just observe the extraordinary beauty of the land? When you observe so easily, aware of all this, the light, the shade, the darkness of the trunks, the shimmer of a single leaf, what is your reaction to it all? What is the feeling behind that awareness? Do you immediately name it? That's an oak. That's a beautiful mountain. And by naming it, by classifying it with your memory, have you finished with it? Have you put it away in a box? Or do you see it? And in that seeing, what is its relationship to your life? Is that beauty out there, separate from you, a painting to be admired, or a social media post to be liked? Or is it part of your life? This is part of awareness. The awareness of the external, and then the immediate, simultaneous awareness of one's own reactions to the external. As you are sitting there, are you aware of the colors, the shapes, the textures in your room? And are you also aware of the mind instantly choosing, I prefer this, I dislike that, this is better than that, I prefer this valley to other valleys I've seen? The moment that I prefer arises, memory and choice are operating. This, for most of us, is our entire life, a constant, restless movement of choicelessness, of judgment, of comparison, all rooted in the database of our past. But I am asking, can one be aware without any choice at all? Just to be aware of the extraordinary sense of the blue sky, the texture of the wood, the sound of a voice, and move with it all, without the eye planting its flag of preference. And then, can you move from that outer awareness to the inner? Can you be aware of your own reactions? And when you are aware of them, is there again a preference? This reaction is good, I am calm. This reaction is bad, I am angry, I must suppress it. One reaction feels more desirable than another. One is more habitual, one is more urgent. So we try to move from the outer to the inner But in doing so, we create a division that may not even exist. We say, this is the world, and this is me, and I am reacting to the world. But is that true? Or is it all one single movement? Think of it like this. The movement of awareness is like the tide flowing out and flowing in. It flows out to the tree, the mountain, the insulting word, the news report. It flows back in as the reaction, the pleasure, the fear, the anger, the memory. Is there truly a division between the outer and the inner? Of course, I am not the tree physically, but in the act of observing, in the psychological field, is the reaction I feel separate from the tree I see, or is the reaction and the tree part of one single unified process of awareness? When one is truly, deeply aware, perhaps there is no division. There is no hidden, unconscious movement because everything is brought into the light. This is not some mystical idea. It is something you can test for yourself by observing your reactions to beauty, to alphiness, to brutality, to the sheer violence of our competitive world. Now, because this unified awareness is so rare, and because our minds are so fragmented and pulled by preference and choice, we invent something else. We invent a tool to force the mind to be still. And what do we call that? We call it concentration. So let's look at this thing we call concentration, because most of our lives, our schooling, our careers, our attempts at self-improvement are built upon it. What is it really? It is the act of forcing all one's energy onto a particular point, whether it's a page in a book, a complex problem at work, or even a mantra in meditation. In that act of concentration, I must ask you, is there not a tremendous effort? You are trying to read a particular page, but out of the window you see a marvelous light on a flower, and your thought, which is a living, moving thing, wanders off to that flower. And what do? You say, no, I must focus, and you pull that thought back, you force it onto the page. This creates a constant draining struggle, a resistance against the natural movement of the mind, all in an attempt to focus on one particular point. We are told this is a virtue, we call it discipline. But what have we actually done? In that moment, we have created a division. There is the controller and there is the controlled. Please, I hope you see this for yourself, not just as a theory I am proposing. There is the entity, the I, the me, who says, I must concentrate. And then there is the thought that wanders, which is deemed bad or distracting and must be controlled. But is the controller any different from the thing it tries to control? Is the I who wants to focus not also a product of thought? Thought has divided itself, creating one fragment called the controller to discipline another fragment called the wandering mind. And in this division, there is an endless battle, an endless expenditure of energy, a conflict at the very root of our being. This is what we call concentration. This is the psychological state of our modern world. We are obsessed with life hacks and productivity, all of which are forms of technologically enhanced concentration, forcing the mind into a narrow groove to achieve a result. We do this because we believe achievement only comes through this kind of friction, this effort. but all it produces is a deep, abiding sense of division and exhaustion. Now we come to the real question: what is attention? The person who asks the question implies that attention is like concentration, something that I can do, something that I can nourish and make continuous, as if it were a plant. We assume the I must be present to make attention happen. But is this true? Let's go back to that woodpecker. Did you listen to it? When you truly listen to a sound, not analyzing it, not naming it, not saying I wish it would stop or that's a woodpecker, but simply listen with your whole being. Is there an I who is listening, or is there only listening? In that moment of pure perception, the center, the me, the controller is absent. Here we find the most profound difference. Concentration, as we've seen, always has a center, the I who is making the effort, and because it has a center, it has a border, a periphery. It excludes everything else to focus on one thing. It draws a little circle in the sand and defends it. But I am suggesting that attention has no center. And if it has no center, it can have no border, no periphery. It is not my attention. It is not something I possess. It is simply a state of attending which is vast, unlimited, and includes everything without choice. So, are you listening attentively now? Are you really listening to what is being said? Or is the me at the center busy at work? Is that me comparing what I am saying to what it already knows, to what some book has said, to what some other teacher has taught? Is it agreeing or disagreeing, thinking, this is interesting, or this is nonsense? If you're doing any of that, you're not in a state of attention. You are back in the prison of concentration with the me as the jailer, filtering every word through the bars of its own prejudice and experience. But if you're listening, giving your whole energy, your whole mind, your whole heart to it, then the me dissolves. There is no center. There is only the flame of attending. This brings us back to your original, beautiful, and deeply human question. How can one nourish this attention? Do you see the trap in the question itself? The very question is born from the I, from the center. It is the me who asks, how can I get that state? How can I hold on to it? How can I make it permanent? The I wants to add attention to its collection of achievements, just as it adds money or knowledge or status. It wants to possess it. But attention, the selfless, centerless state, cannot be possessed. It cannot be nourished because there is no entity to do the nourishing. It cannot be practiced, it cannot be cultivated, it cannot be achieved through any method, through any discipline, through any act of will. Any attempt by the me to create attention is just another form of concentration, another form of self-centered activity, which is the very opposite of attention. So, the answer is not to try to nourish attention. The answer is to see, with choiceless awareness, the entire structure of the I that asks this question. Can you be aware of the controller and the controlled not as a theory, but as the actual movement of your own mind right now? Can you see the me that wants to achieve, that is afraid, that feels fragmented? Can you just observe this me without any preference, without any judgment, without any desire to change it, fix it, or suppress it? That very act of seeing, that selfless observation, is attention. It is not something you get at the end of a long struggle. It is here, now, in the instant you see the force as force. Awareness without choice is the key. When you are choicelessly aware of the world outside and the world inside, seeing it all as one movement, and you see the mechanism of concentration, the eye with its desperate efforts, in that seeing, the eye becomes quiet. It has no more work to do. And in that silence, in that stillness, there is attention. It is not yours. It is not mine. It simply is